everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Bethany, and as you guys can tell, today we're going to be talking about hair porosity. Now, if you've been here for a while, I've definitely talked about this on my channel before. I will link the previous video up in the cards, but today I want to get into the nitty-gritty of it. I want to just talk about the basics, but I also want to give you guys some practical tips for each type of porosity hair type. So the other video is a lot more in depth about hair type and all that stuff, but this one is a little bit of a rebuttal to that one in a way, but those things I said are still valid, but you'll see. Let's just get into it. So starting off talking about porosity. Well, porosity measures your hair's ability to accept and retain moisture, basically. So how well does your hair take in moisture and how does it let it out? So porosity is measured by low, then medium or normal, and then high porosity. So let's start off talking about low porosity hair. So how it works is that you have a strand of hair. I will put a graphic on the screen to help you understand this as well. But say you have a strand of hair and this is your strand of hair. The cuticle is the part of the hair that opens or shuts to allow things in and out of the hair. Okay? So if you have low porosity hair, that means that your cuticle is maybe a little open, but it's mostly shut. So on the strand of hair, it's very difficult for things to get into there. It's hard for water, moisture, any type of molecules really to get into that hair shaft. So that means that sometimes people with low porosity hair can experience very dry hair, or if their hair is moisturized, it will stay that way for a while. The challenge of low porosity hair is absorbing moisture. Some properties of hair that is low porosity are as follows. So listen closely because this might be you. Low porosity hair repels water. Think like dry fit clothing, Scotch Guard, along those lines. Hair may kind of bead up. If you get in the shower to wash your hair and it just seems like it takes forever to actually get wet, you might have low porosity hair. And the reason is because your cuticle is much more shut. And so the water takes a lot longer to be able to penetrate. There's not as much surface area on the hair for the water to enter. So on the other hand, once the hair does get wet, it might take forever to dry, because once that water has got into that hair cuticle, because it's closed, guess what? It's trapped in there. It's locked in there, baby. So if your hair takes, I don't know, hours and hours or even days to dry, it could be because you have low porosity hair. So here are a couple of tips for styling low porosity hair. First things first, consider applying product to your hair when it is damp rather than when it is soaking wet. You'll hear a lot of curly girls say to apply your product to your hair when it's soaking wet for the best definition, which is true. However, it's kind of a toss-up, because if your hair is going to take hours and hours, even days to dry, number one, if it's winter, look, anybody trying to go outside in the cold with wet hair, but on top of that, your hair might end up getting frizzy and messed up after, 20 hours of drying. It may not really be worth it. So consider applying your products to damp hair instead of soaking wet hair. And then when you apply your products, go for lighter weight products like lightweight leave-in conditioners and hair milks and things that are not going to weigh your hair down. Because that cuticle is more closed, the heavy molecules and thick creams and butters are so difficult for low porosity hair to absorb that really you're just coating the outside of the hair, but it's not really penetrating, which can cause your hair to have a lot of buildup on the outside of your hair. So that leads me to my next tip, which is to use a clarifying shampoo when you get buildup on your hair, because at that point, you're not going to get any moisture in or out. If you have a thick oil coating on your strand of hair and you're trying to get moisture into your hair, imagine what that's like. It's like oil and water. You're repelling the moisture, but you're actually locking in the dryness. So if you have low porosity hair, you want to make sure that you go with lighter weight products. You're clarifying your hair from buildup, and possibly style your hair while it's damp rather than wet. Another thing about low porosity hair is that because it's so hard to get moisture in, a good tip is to actually use heat to open up the cuticle to allow it to accept more moisture. For example, if you're going to deep condition your hair while in the shower, use hot water on your hair before you apply the deep conditioner to prep it. Allow that cuticle to open up a little bit so that it can accept that deep conditioner even better. Another way is to apply your deep conditioner, put on a shower cap, and sit under a hooded dryer. Guys, they have these on Amazon. You can literally have a hooded dryer in the comfort of your own home these days. Also, steaming your hair while the deep conditioner is in is a great way to apply that heat and open up that cuticle. And if you don't have any of those things available to you with a shower, I know you can do. But if you don't have a hooded dryer or a steamer or even a blow dryer, consider heating up your deep conditioner in the microwave before you apply it to your hair. I have never done this before. I have never had a need to do this before. But hey, don't knock it till you try it. If you think it will work for you, then by all means, go for it. And remember, low porosity hair is protein sensitive. So you want to stay away from products that have a whole lot of protein that can cause your hair to be super dry and super brittle. Okay, so I'm going to skip past medium or normal porosity and I'm going to go straight to high, and I'll come back to normal after because it's a little uneventful, to be honest. But let's talk about high porosity hair. If you have high porosity hair, then your hair cuticle, if this is your strand of hair, your hair cuticle is wide open. That means that your hair can accept moisture very, very quickly. But guess what? That means that that exact same moisture can escape just as quickly as it entered. So low porosity hair is a whole nother beast. A lot of times high porosity hair can be due to color damage or heat damage, damage to the hair shaft and the hair cuticle. However, that's not always the case. Sometimes people have high porosity hair just genetically. So it's not always due to damage, but let's talk a little bit about high porosity. So as I said, high porosity hair absorbs moisture very easily, but again, it dries out very fast. Hey you guys, so I'm currently editing this video and I wanted to make sure I mentioned something about high porosity hair that I missed. So as high porosity hair is more open and it's more porous, hence the word porosity, the cuticle is open, meaning that when you get in the shower to wash your hair, if you have high porosity hair, you'll notice that your hair absorbs water very, very quickly. It becomes saturated very, very quickly with water. But it may seem like as soon as you get out the shower, your hair is already dry. It's like it dries out so incredibly quickly. And in order to style it, you have to add a lot of water and have your spray bottle because it dries so fast. So I wanted to make sure that I acknowledge those properties of high porosity hair to help you guys determine, which hair type that you have when it comes to your hair's porosity. Back to the main program. So one of the things that you are going to want to do if you have high porosity hair is that you are going to want to use thick creams and butters that will penetrate the hair cuticle, but that will stick in there longer and that will not dry out as fast. If you have high porosity hair, you really want to lock in that moisture. So, for example, if you take a shower and you wash your hair and you use a deep conditioner, you're going to want to rinse this deep conditioner out with cool water. Ooh, I know. It's literally just, I cringe thinking about it because I cannot with cold showers. But let me tell you, you want to lock in that moisture. That cold water is going to help to shut the hair cuticle, which is going to help to lock in that moisture. Just like with low porosity hair, heating up the product can cause the cuticle to open more. Cold water will cause it to shut. Think about like goosebumps or like how your pores open up and then they shut. They open up with warm water and they shut with cold. So it's the same way with the hair cuticle. So you want to keep that in mind. Again, heavy creams, butters, and oils will create that barrier to lock in the moisture that you put in your hair. Some of the properties that you might notice with high porosity hair is that it can tangle very easily. It can be very tangly because if you think about it, the hair strand is actually rougher to the touch. So sometimes those kinks in the hair can cause them to get all tangled up and really, really tangly. So if your hair is really prone to tangles, consider if you might have high porosity hair. But one thing I will tell you about high porosity hair is that it loves proteins. protein can really cling to that hair strand and really fill in some of the gaps of the damage that the high porosity hair might have. So protein treatments, my favorite is the Apogee two-step protein treatment, are so amazing for high porosity hair because it really helps to repair and to fill in some of those spaces so that you can retain moisture easier. Okay, so now that we talked about low porosity and high porosity, let's talk about medium or normal porosity hair. This is actually the category that I am currently falling into, but I have been all over the porosity map as it is. I've had all different types of porosity depending on what I've done to my hair, what the coloring is what the kind of color, how the state of my hair, how damaged it is from bleaching it, things like that. So I have experienced all of these, but right now my hair is at a pretty healthy state, and I would say that it is normal porosity right now. And that just means that you really don't have to do anything special. If you feel like your hair is not, it doesn't take forever to get wet, it doesn't take forever to dry, it's just kind of normal, then you have normal porosity hair, my friend. And there's not really anything super special that you have to do to maintain it as far as the porosity goes. But just keep in mind that you can have different porosities of hair on your same head of hair. And I tell you this, it's kind of annoying. So you might notice that certain hair reacts differently to product or water, and sometimes you might have a mix. In the crown of my head, I, have gone through phases where I need to use a thicker, heavier product because that hair has been more damaged by color and it's just more dry. It doesn't retain moisture. It never looks defined. So you may have to make a couple of adjustments to your hair care routine based on the porosity of your hair overall. Again, medium porosity hair, normal porosity hair requires the least amount of maintenance as far as porosity goes. So consider yourself lucky, but remember, your hair porosity could change based on what you do to your hair. So don't think that you just tested it once and you figured out what you had and then it's over. But you never know. It can change. Speaking of testing, I want to kind of debunk some of the things that I talked about in my last porosity video because there's so many things that I learned online. I learned about the hair strand and water test, and I actually did that live with you guys on my channel. Not live, but I did it in the video with you guys. But I am not a big fan of that method anymore because what I realized is that even when I knew my hair was high porosity because of damage, my hair still floated on top of the water when I did this test. And that's when I realized this test does not really work. There's a lot of factors that can cause it to not work as well. The science behind it is kind of like, okay, that should make sense. But to me, I don't think it's the most reliable test. So for me, looking at the properties of the hair is a much more just clear, straight path to figuring this out rather than trying to pull a piece of your hair out or find a piece of your hair out of a brush and all that stuff. If the hair is not clean, it can affect the test. Depending on the temperature of the water, it can affect the test. Let's just not do that anymore. Let's just not put our hair in water. Let's just pay attention to our hair. If not, if you go to a hair salon, I can guarantee you most stylists will be able to tell you the porosity of your hair as soon as they get you to the shampoo bowl and begin to put water on your hair. Because again, porosity is how your hair accepts or rejects water. How does your hair absorb water? Does it absorb water really, really fast? And does it dry out really fast? That would be high porosity. Or does your hair take forever to get wet and take forever to dry? That would be low porosity. And if it's neither of those, you might be right in the middle with normal porosity hair. So you guys, that's all I have on porosity for today. If you guys have any questions, definitely link them down below. I love doing these types of educational videos to help you guys learn more about your hair. So if there's anything else you guys want to know about, please let me know down below in the comments. And comment what porosity hair that you think that you have. I love for you guys to be able to see how you guys can understand your hair better. And then you can pick the right products and learn how to style your hair accordingly. So I hope this helped you guys. I hope you guys can understand it a little bit better. And yeah, that is pretty much it for this video, you guys. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video.